Good evening and welcome to the Making Management Show. My name is Matt and I'm your host. Welcome back. Took a 1 week hiatus. Actually, it's going to flow really nicely into our topic tonight. Went out and watched my girlfriend's son's baseball game, and so that was really important to me. But this week we're diving into work-life balance, and I think it's just one of the most important aspects of you as a manager and you as a person, and kind of going through your career. One of the other things you might notice is that we got a new camera, so super excited about that. So if you've been with me kind of from the beginning, obviously I was using like my old laptop camera, and we've just upgraded, so very exciting. So I hope you guys enjoy that. And as always, want to say thank you for those of you who have subscribed and have watched some of the channel and have interacted. And honestly, I think that is what this is all about. The whole idea is for us to build a community, and hopefully for you guys to gain some insights and different perspectives, and hopefully throughout the process I can learn some from you guys as well. So really excited about that. um but yeah, so work life balance, what is it, how do you achieve it? We're going to get into it tonight on this Friday night. It's a rainy day here in Michigan, but I appreciate you guys being here with me. And if you're not live, that's okay. Feel free to drop questions or comments in the comment section. I do check it, and try to interact that way. So before we jump in, want to kind of give you what the definition of work-life balance is. And it reads as: work life balance is the state of equilibrium where a person equally prioritizes the demands of one's career and the demands of one's personal life. Um, I think I kind of wanted to start on that because it kind of really sets the tone for where we're heading tonight. There's a lot of different aspects of work life balance, and there's a lot of different variables in it, and I think it's going to change with each person. And I think because with each person, like this, you know you have every person has a different career. Everyone has a different personal life, and because of those variables it's a little bit different, but some of the um kind of the baseline or the principles are going to be the same. So, um, I just read you the definition, but I think when I initially think work life balance, a couple of things come to mind, like, Monday through Friday, 40 hours, 9 to 5. I'm home every night for dinner. Like, is that the ideal work life balance? Or on the flip side of that, like, or on the high side, is like, is working 45 or 50 hours up to 60 hours, 70 hours, is that too much? Um, you know, and I'm kind of asking you guys, is, working 50 hours, 60 hours too much in the work side? Um, but not so much on, like, are you giving enough on the personal side as well? And I think when we look at the definition, and again, we're going to kind of go back to the definition. It says, the equilibrium where a person equally prioritizes the demands of one's career. So, like your work, if it's 40 hours, it might be 40 hours for some professions, it might be 50 hours for some professions, um, and the demands of one's personal life. So, if you have, a really good set of friends, if you're younger, maybe you have a family, a spouse, um, you know, that you have to equally prioritize, those demands as well. So again, I think it's going to be a little bit different for every person. um and in addition, for it to be different for every person. It's going to be different for specific careers and then also career goals. We're going to kind of get into that. But first, I'm going to kind of tell you a little bit of my experience in work life balance. So, when I came out of college, I was kind of dead set on, getting a well paying job. I had a degree in economics and management with a minor in communications. And I ended up I linked up with an alumni from my college, Albion College, um, and like I got a job in a software development company, and so I was all excited, shirt tie, cubicle life, 40 hours a week, it was a 9 to 5, kind of they like said you should be there by 8:30. Um, but yeah, 9 to 5. And honestly, so if you wanted to talk about like a work life balance of that, like you're home every night and you're home for your significant other or your spouse, you're making good money, you would say like, oh, well, then you hit the jackpot. Well, in truth of the matter is like I honestly really really disliked that particular job, and like kind of put me in a very bad space mentally, emotionally, and I was honestly kind of a drag to be around. Yes, it paid the bills, and more than that, it paid for the bills, it helped pay for a wedding, et cetera, helped pay down some student loans. However, I was a miserable person to be around. So, you know, the question then becomes like, was it good work life balance? Like, yeah, I was home and I was only 9 to 5. I never worked the weekends. I didn't get phone calls in the nighttime. But, was it super fulfilling? For me, no. And I ended up leaving that position and got into back into the service industry and into like a management role, and kind of the histories from there. But um I think when you look at work life balance, again, it's very specific. But when I got into the management role, I would say that like my work life balance was not good. And I want to just kind of tell you, because I want to be transparent with you, like I don't think I was super good at it. I think that I wanted to control pretty much everything, in the management world, in my world that is where I was working. Um, I didn't delegate super well. I didn't set boundaries. So a lot of these things, caused for me to, work an incredible excess of hours, 60 plus hours a week. Um, and I was getting phone calls all the time. I was answering emails at all hours of the day and night. Um, and so obviously that put a massive strain on my relationships with my friends and my family. And so you know it took me a long time to kind of figure this out and figure out like how to navigate work life balance. But it was like a whole combination of things. It was you know I had to figure out how to train better. I had to figure out how to be more efficient with my time. I had to figure out how to, set better boundaries. And, I'm going to talk about those things a little bit more in depth here shortly. But, as time went on, I was able to achieve a little bit more, a better, balance for myself where I could prioritize my work and my career, but I could also prioritize, you know, my personal life, my relationships with my family and my friends. So I think, um, you know, again, it's kind of that equilibrium where you can put effort into both and be successful at both. Um, and you know, as the I'm going to talk about like as a manager here shortly about like what does that mean, for your own time management, but also for your employees. Because if you're leading a team of people, then your direct actions will also affect your team and your employees. So we're definitely going to get into that. But um, for each different career and career goals, a work life balance looks different. So, if you're just climbing a corporate ladder, and there's nothing wrong with climbing a corporate ladder, being in one company for 20, 30 years. I think that's fantastic. And if you can do that and you're happy doing it, like the key word is happy doing it, then more power to you. You know, I'm in a position now where I'm a business owner, so franchisee, and like I probably couldn't go the corporate ladder route. Um, but you graduate, you work hard for 4 years in college, maybe have some fun too, which is totally cool. Um, and you work, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and you kind of work your way up from there. And you bide your time, and you get your promotion every couple of years, and kind of work your way that way, and then your happy days. And that's a totally fine. Um, work life balance. A lot of people are very, very happy with that, and which is good. Like medical professionals, doctors, dentists, et cetera, et cetera. They probably, they prioritize school first. They have to go through, 4 years undergrad, and then graduate, then medical school. So like, they're putting a lot of time, a lot of effort into the front part of their schedule. And even doctors, some of them ER doctors, like, they have very strenuous and very, hectic work schedules. um but it might be a little bit different than someone on the corporate ladder, definitely different than a business owner. um and then maybe the entrepreneur or a business owner, um when work life balance for that person is going to be someone that um, is good working all the time and kind of being quote unquote on call all the time, because that's just the life. I think most entrepreneurs, love what they do and love the product or service that they sell, and for business owners as well. But you know, when they're doing that, they live and they breathe it, right? And then, for a lot of the people watching that, you guys are managers or leaders of people. What does the work life balance look for you guys? Um, and I think that's one of the things that we should kind of talk about. You know, um, what are you doing in terms of your time management? During your work week, your work week might be 40 hours, it might be 50 hours. I think kind of the industry standard, in at least in the service industry, is probably running around 50 ish. um so what are you doing while you're at work? How efficient are you being? Again, that delegation and training portion, and we can, if you want to, look back at some of the other videos. I talked about training and delegating and things like that. But if you can train your team, then you can delegate tasks and allow them to kind of figure it out. And then once they do that, you can have a day off without getting phone calls. And then I think the last part of this is setting boundaries, and you set your boundaries with your team members and your management team, because um you know let's just say, from my perspective, as a business owner, or for a long time, a manager of people, I would kind of let them know, like, all right, well, call me if there's an emergency, um like a true emergency. Text me if you just need something, but it's not super like time sensitive or whatnot. And then email me if you need something, you know, without a deadline. And those are on my off days. And I think that that's a really good rule for anyone who is a manager of people, who kind of want their days off, and for their days off to be true days off, like where you're not constantly fielding phone calls about, such and such didn't call out, or, come in, or, um, we have an issue with um, a vendor, or any of the many things that could come up throughout a day. So you kind of set the boundaries with your team. You kind of let them know, like, all right, this is what you can call me for. Call me for emergency, text, and then email for the other stuff. So I think that's a very practical way that you guys can help your work life balance, as managers or leaders. Um, and then, but like, again, if you're a business owner, you're kind of always on. And hopefully, as a business owner, that you have a very great management team around you. Like, I'm very blessed to have a great team around me, where you have trained them and you are able to step away to spend time with your family and be present with your family. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Um, but you have to empower your management team to take care of the business, that your business, when you're not there. So I think that's just something to keep in mind. um Again, when you do, I'll talk about like the life side, like work life balance. Again, everyone, like, I think when you do have your time off and you are away from work, and hopefully not answering texts and emails and phone calls, um but you have your family, you have your friends, you have your hobbies. Those are kind of your three things. And I think you have to prioritize them. You have to make time for each of them. And um it's just important to make that phone call with your, hey, we're gonna have date night tonight, you know or hey, let's go grab drinks, or let's go play a round of golf, if that's your hobby. So I think those types of things, when you're on the life side, or like, you're off of work, those are good for your soul. And I think it's really important to kind of fulfill that side of you, and to be able to find joy and excitement, and live for something other than just work. Like, I think a lot of, especially Americans, like, what's the saying? I think it's Americans uh, l- live to work, and a lot of the rest of the world, they work to live. Yeah. So if you think about that, Americans, they live to work, and then again, most of the rest of the world, they work to live, i.e., they work hard for their money, but then they're taking vacations and enjoying that PTO time, or enjoying that round of golf, or going to the batting cages with their sons. So uninterrupted. So I think it's just important to identify your kind of what your priorities are in your personal life. um and then on the flip side of that, to still, when you're at work, like, be fully engaged at work. um and again, I think if you're working 45, 50, 60 hours, um that's okay, if you know your spouse is cool with it, and they support you, and it's not causing a rift, and that type of thing. Because ultimately, like, you have career goals, and I can tell you that without working the amount I have worked in my past, I wouldn't be where I am today. So I do think, to get to the next level of whatever your goals are, whether it's, if you're a shift leader, you want to get to an assistant, like, you might have to pick up some more shifts. If you're an assistant manager, you want to get to that general manager, like, you might have to, you know go to the other store and spend some time there. Or If you want to become an owner or a franchisee, you're going to have to put in the time. And, you know, the time and the hard work doesn't stop, but it's again working at the things that will allow you to have a life outside of the work. So, i.e., setting the boundaries, being efficient, having good time management, training, and delegating tasks and things like that. And that will ultimately help you have a better life outside of the work when you're not there. Um, and then finally, kind of the last point I want to make is when you are a manager of people and you have a team of employees, you, not only are you responsible for your own work life balance, but you're also kind of responsible for their work life balance. And I think that's important to note because oh sorry, I got the nice polo on, but you saw the shorts. Sorry about that. But new camera, different angles. But I think it's important because um your team member, like, let's say for example you are making the schedule and you make the schedule and you have team members that are involved in, let's say, high school kids that are involved in sports. Well, it's really important that you are scheduling them so that they can make their practices, make their games, but also be a part of your team. You might have someone, let's say that you have a mom or a dad, and um, it's really important that it is really important that they are there on Halloween, for example. So, like, don't schedule them on Halloween. So the power of the schedule is super important as a manager or leader of a team, um, because what you do is also going to affect their personal work life balance. Um, and what I would say also to that is, as the leader or a manager, you need to have boundaries yourself, because you can't be, um, you know, calling, texting at all hours of the morning or night, because, there was a mistake made on the line, or the report wasn't in on time, or, um, something that could be handled during normal work hours or on their next shift. You have to allow that time to pass, and you need to have a boundary for yourself, because, you know, general team members do not want to hear from their boss, or their, boss or leader or manager, whatever. They don't want to hear from them on their time off, because they want to spend time uninterrupted with their friends or with their family, um, doing the things that they enjoy or they love. So, um, just please keep that in mind as the leader of your teams, um, that you have a lot to do with their own work life balance. And I think if you can provide a good platform for them to have a good work life balance, then, like, they're going to stay with you longer. And I think that's super important. Longevity is really, really important for employees, and teams, for them to be successful, um, but just their overall happiness. So, try to be mindful of that as you kind of work through your schedules, and how you interact with your team members. So, um, let's see. I think I kind of covered all my notes tonight. So, um, again, if you have any thoughts or questions or comments, please drop them in the comment section. Um, as always, I'm going to end on the quote of the day today, which is by Zig Ziglar, who's a motivational speaker. But he says, you can't truly be considered successful in your business life if your home life is in shambles. Um, and I think it just kind of says it perfectly and really echoes the definition of work life balance. Got to be able to prioritize both, and whatever that looks like for you is going to be different from the next person over. But make sure you are, having good time management, being efficient. You train and delegate, you set boundaries, and do that for your team as well. And hopefully you kind of come out of this video tonight or whenever you're watching it, just feeling like you can go on your next off day without hesitation, and without someone you know where you can just have the balance that you want. So as always, smash a like on the video. I appreciate every single one of you who watched, and I will see you guys next week. Have a good one.